Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. This is your host, Michael Weaver. And today we have a special guest, Miss Christina Rotondo. Christina, how are you today?
Doing well, Michael. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. And for all of you that are listening, better grab a coffee or a water or alcoholic beverage, depends on the day. Today, we are going to have another coaching call session. Christina is what? You're 4 months into the business now? 5 months?
I'm finishing up my 5th month.
Okay, so we're going to have a coaching session with a brand new agency owner. I cannot wait to get into this, Miss Christina.
Absolutely. I'm so excited, and I kind of feel starstruck. I joined, Weaver Sales Academy for my team, and it's been amazing. And I listen to your podcast every morning. And when you started doing these coaching calls, I was like, sign me up. I need more coaching. And I know there's other agents out there 5-6 months in that have these same questions.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate, number one, your business and your support. It means the world to Courtney and I and the Weaver Sales Academy team. And yeah, I'm pumped today because new agents, one, your energy is just so dang attractive. Like when I love getting around new agents because it's like fires me up, wants me to run through a wall. And so I'm pumped today. And you're right. Like if you have the question, I can guarantee others have the same question. And so today will be a lot of fun. So first, before we get into that, how's everything going? Everything going good?
It's good. It's the most, this sounds funny, but it's the most dysfunctional relationship I've ever been in. The highs are so high, but the lows are like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's really, coming from a team member for 2 years and being really good at life insurance and really elevating my old agent and elevating the team and learning so much about the industry because I'm new to it. I was a corporate accountant for 19 years and going from being really good at it to kind of coming in going, okay, I can't just sit here and make life calls all day. I have to run a business. I have to run a team. I knew that going in, but it wasn't really, I was like, oh, team, no problem. I've managed a team of 25, like multi-million-dollar companies, not an issue. And it's like, oh, I'll find people I can hire. I'll be able to motivate them. And it's honestly my number one challenge right now in agency.
Yep. Team is well, and to address the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride that you said, and that's in the very beginning, it is an up and down and that sells in general. But I think the longer this goes, the more processes and systems you get in place, the more consistency it starts to level out. The lows aren't as low, which is what it's all about. And team, even when speaking with 10 and 15-year agents, team and business owner myself, we own multiple businesses. Team is always the hardest aspect to this gig. It's always the funnest part, but it's also the toughest part.
Mhm.
Is not only the leading the people, the friendships you build, like that's the fun part. The tough part is obviously when something's not working out or attracting the right people to your culture and your team.
Mhm.
And so today will be a lot of fun. So when you talk about team and that being a struggle, talk to me a little bit about that.
I think for me it is motivating. I feel like I have a really good compensation plan. I constantly come out and be like, you guys want to leave early today? Get me 4 reviews. Everybody can leave at 4. We have agency promos that come out. Okay, I'm going to take the travel credits, but I'll take the 1,500 and we'll divide it 22 ways and you'll get extra on top of your commission. I feel like I buy coffee. I treat lunch once or twice a week. I'm having that fine line of being their friend and building a family culture that I want, but also being their boss. And I feel like when I give them a mile or give them an inch, sometimes they take a mile. And then I'm like, guys, where are we going at? Where, you're not hitting your matrices, you're not building your funnel. And it's kind of like they look at me like, well, what do you mean? Like everything's fine. I'm like, do you see our board? How do we go from 66 policies in 14 days to 49 for the month? Like where's the disconnect? So I think it's the motivation. 1 minute they're motivated by money, and 1 minute they're motivated by paid time off. And I'm like, just tell me what you guys want. I'm willing to do it, but how do we get there?
Okay. That's so my first question is is, have you, so because there's a lot into this right now. So obviously motivating a team, driving results, team members not performing. Okay, so let's tackle maybe the motivation piece first. The first question I would have for you, and we all know that motivation doesn't last. Okay, discipline does, successful habits, things like that. But motivating is part of this, keeping your team members fired up. So have you had like a one-on-one and sit down and ask them how they are motivated, what they like, whether it is time, like their bonuses, would they rather have money, time off, maybe a paid vacation? Have you done that?
Yeah. So upon hiring, they have a sheet that they fill out, like
Okay.
one, paid time off, vacation, all of that. We go over that on the new employee onboarding process. And then even throughout, like, okay, hey, this is where we're at. We need to drive numbers here. What do you guys want? You guys want to leave early? You want money? I let them choose. I try to run a non-dictatorship. I came from dictatorship. I don't want to create that culture in my office. I want everybody to feel like they have a say. So I feel like I do a really good job with that. And then when they're not being motivated, I communicate a lot. I call them into my office. Hey, sit down. What's going on? Is it personal life? Where are you at? And I turn it around on them like you turn it around on us. Like, tell me how I can help you. Do you want me to sit down with you for a week and go through calls with you? No, that's just going to stress me out. Okay, well, I need a list. Okay, so let's create a matrix. Like, I'm very open and honest of whatever you want to help motivate you. That's where I think my frustration lies, is because I'm still not getting the results.
Okay. But so this is good. I like where this is going. So you're doing a really good job. It sounds like, from a communication and an accountability standpoint, which is sometimes where I find, like, and that's why I asked that question, like, hey, what does it look like? And so kudos to you for, hey, you're not performing, come in here, what's going on? So I love that accountability. And it sounds like you're also looking at your matrix, because the checker gets what the checker checks at the end of the day. So my follow-up question for that is going to be, if they're not performing and you're throwing your bonuses out there, you've got an attractive comp plan, what does their day-to-day look like? Like, if you had to narrow down what their typical day looks like, what does that look like usually?
And I think you're hitting the nail right on the head, Michael. Is they're like me in a sense, and I probably attract the same people. Is we're not intentional with our time. We're not time blocking the way that we should be. We're not. I try to structure them to where I'm like, okay, what do you need? Do you need an hour by hour? Do you need, okay, service in the morning, sales in the afternoon? What's going to help you get through? Like, you stop service at 1:00. If it is not an emergency, and we'll list what we feel is an emergencies, you can tackle it tomorrow morning, because people answer their phones most in the afternoon, or at least in our area. So, after lunch, on campaigns, on calls, on your tasks. And I think that's the problem, is they're letting their day dictate them. My day dictates me a lot too. So I think coming up with a more structured plan of everybody's day might help them more. I just don't know how to get there.
Okay. So how many team members, let's just work through this real fast. So how many team members do you have?
I have an office manager. I have another account manager. She's almost at her 90 days. I hired somebody last week. She's on her 3rd day of calling in. That's fun. And then I have another one starting next Tuesday.
Okay. Like, she's called in 3 days in a row, like called in sick?
No, she called in sick Monday, and then she came yesterday. She called in today, and then she's supposed to be taking her PNC test tomorrow. And she was like, I need the whole day to prep. And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
That's where you have those problems too.
Yep. All right. So right now you've got 2 new team members. All right. And you've got your office manager and your account manager.
Yes.
Okay. So your office manager and your account manager, are those roles responsible for production, or what does that look like?
I run a generalist model right now, just to get, we have a pretty decent sized book. So I just want everybody to learn service and pivot. My number one rule in my office is every incoming and every outbound sale, or is a possible sale. So my number one rule is opportunity with the task, every single one. And so they're doing both. So that's why I try to structure service in the morning and their sales follow-up calls in the afternoon.
Okay. So they're a +1 approach with, I love that approach. And then as far as new prospecting, what are they like? Are they in charge of bringing on new business on a month-to-month basis?
See, and that's where I don't have anything set up. I don't have like a minimum. I don't have minimums for them. We do the 2x1 by 2x2, which is 2 autos, 1 fire a day, with 2 life a week and 2 reviews a week. That's how I would like to see it. And we talk about that a lot, but we have a matrix sheet where there's 5 matrices, 40 outbound calls, 5 quotes, 5 new policies, and 10 pivots. They earn 2 raffle tickets a day. At the end of 2 weeks, I draw a raffle for an extra $100 on their paycheck. And their goal is to get 2 matrix a day. I feel like if they hit those matrix every day, they're building their funnel to get to their sales.
That was 40 calls, 5 quotes, 5 what?
5 new policies.
Okay.
And 10 pivots.
And this is a week or a day?
Daily.
Okay. Love that. How often are they getting their matrices done? And what matrices are they typically completing? Because what I find typically is a team member will get into a routine of just completing the same 2 matrices. Are you finding that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm finding the calls and the quotes.
They're doing the calls and the quote. They are getting 5 quotes?
Yes.
But they're not converting quotes to sales?
No.
Okay.
And that's, if you look at the analytics on, ECRM, they're closing, when they get the quote, their closing ratio is 88% or higher. It's that transition from opportunity to quote that is really, really low.
So from the contact to quote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But once they get the quote, they have a super high closing ratio.
88%. Yeah.
Hey, that's not bad for a Weaver Sales Academy statistic. That's pretty good.
Exactly.
I had to slide that one in there. All right. So, all right, let's tackle this. So contacts to quotes. All right. And it sounds like it sounds like you've done a really good job of trying to coach them through. So what are you finding that they're struggling with from that contact from going from, hey, phone call, okay, they pick up, converting that into a quote? What are you finding that they're getting hung up on right now?
I think they're quick to take no for an answer. And I try to stress to them, this may sound bad, but unless they're cussing you out and hanging up on you, no is not an answer. It's just not right now. Right. So, you want to try to pivot off, like try to find out why they're saying no. Like, is it time, or, is there a time you can come in? Is it financial? What can we look at? At the end of the day, when we pivot to other lines, if we can get them in front of us or go over their autos in their home, we can find savings somewhere, still give them more coverage and give them enough savings to, purchase an umbrella or purchase a life policy or something like that. So I just think that they say, no, not right now. And it's, oh, okay, thank you. Have a great day. They're not like, okay, well, hey, let's look into your homeowners. Let's, and that's where I was like, okay, do you guys want me to start time blocking with you twice a week? So we start going over those objections.
So I think that would,
and they're like, yeah.
So I think that'd be a really good idea. Not only that, if they're not time blocking, so another thing you can find is if they're not time blocking and being intentional with their activity, what could also be happening is they are distracted by so many other things that when they do get that individual on the phone that picks up, that they are not ready. They're not prepared. They're not intentional with the call, to where they've been scrolling on their phone, or they were checking email, or they might even be working on a service work while making an outgoing dial. And we all know that when that prospect picks up, you have to be super intentional with that, ready to pounce, like ready to go. And so that might be another thing that you pay attention to, and just really, really time block and reiterate the importance. And I know that we do this through the training, but really reiterate the importance of, hey, when you're making outgoing calls, you need to be intentional with the outgoing call. So everything else stops, and you're not checking email, you're not checking your phone, like you are intentional with the task at hand, so that when that prospect does pick up the phone, you can make the most out of that opportunity.
Absolutely. I like that because you're right. They're probably missing the social cue. They're not picking up on that minute second of there was your in and
Yep.
you missed it because you were scrolling or you were on a service chat. Absolutely. Great point. Love that.
Yep. Because, well, and like think about yourself. If somebody calls you, if a salesperson calls you and they take that slight thing and then they're like, and then they go into their spill, you're like, oh, this is just another salesperson. Where is if somebody's ready, they're smiling through the phone, they're enthusiastic, you pick up and they're like, hey, what's going on? You're automatically more attracted to that person to talk to. And so just little things like that. But I think that would be a really good one. I think the last thing I would ask is how, so from a performing standpoint, and the other thing I want you to really think about, I know you're a new agent generalist model, but what happened if you didn't have a book of business? What are you and your team going to do to attract more prospects? I really want you to think about that. And it may be even a good conversation with your team. Like if we had no incoming calls, how are we going to attract new prospects to our business?
No, absolutely. And it's something I've been preaching to day one is trying to get everybody up and going. So we can get out and market, and that's been the biggest part is we're so bogged down with the day to day and doing service and calling campaigns that it's like nobody's gone out and market. I mean, I bought cookie boxes to go drop off at businesses 5 months ago when I first opened. I haven't even used them.
Okay. So, and that comes back to intentional time as well. But you're drinking out of a fire hydrant right now. I get it. Like you're a 5-month new business owner. This is tough. It's not easy. And a lot of people are going to feel you on that. And so, and if someone's listening to this right now and you're in the same situation or seat as Christina, look, this is normal. Like y'all are drinking out of huge fire hydrants right now. You have a lot to maintain. Not only are you the salesperson, you're the manager, you're the CEO, you may be the janitor, and that is okay too. But it's figuring out how to organize your day so that you can be the most efficient with your day. And then here's the other thing, making time for what's important. So this question's more for you, Christina, than around your team. What are you doing on a daily basis? Like, are you doing anything to make sure that like, okay, these 2 tasks have to be done by the end of the day. These are my 2 most important tasks, which I call in IPAs, income producing activities. Are you doing that on a daily basis?
Okay. No, I think I go into every day very intentional and then something happens.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's common. So let me ask you, at the end of most of your days, are you feeling productive or are you feeling like, where the hell did the day go?
Where the hell did the day go?
Okay.
I mean, in the moment, I'm like, okay, got that done. But by the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm just as backed up as I was when I started.
Okay. And how does that make you feel?
Stressed out and, tired. I was listening to your last coaching podcast, and I think your last guest said it perfectly. You're either getting takeout or you're cooking, and takeout is 90% of our time right now because we're just so drained by the end of the day. Like what just happened? Did I get it all done? I don't even know. Let's start over again tomorrow.
So what can you do? So I really want you to think about this. So what can you do to make sure that you don't, and look, some days you're just going to feel that way, but I want a majority of your days for you to feel productive. Wow, I accomplished this today. I did this, which brought me joy. Okay. Because if you don't watch it, burnout within your first 12 to 18 months is a real thing for a lot of people. And so when I ask you this question, like, what do you think you can automatically implement into your daily routine to help you feel more productive, more efficient, more organized, to where at the end of the days, you're feeling like you're running a day versus the day running you?
The answer is time blocking. Absolutely. Our first call 5 months ago was top of mind. You're like, you need time block. And I did. But the problem is executing it. I would block myself off from 3 to 4 every day. The team really wants to see me do campaigns, and I agree with them. They want to see me in action, and I want to do that for them. But the day gets away from me, and I'm like, sorry, I just don't have time for it today. I don't have time for it today. And I put it on the calendar. So the problem is actually executing it. maybe I'm taking too big of a bite. Maybe I need to take smaller bites and start learning to execute the smaller bites instead of trying to execute everything all at once.
So what's getting in your way in this example, this 3 to 4 o'clock example? And look, execution is the hardest. It is the easiest, but also the hardest thing. Okay. Because other things can always get in the way. So what is typically getting in your way from that 3 to 4 o'clock period that's not allowing you to hold yourself accountable to that time block?
It's probably just, the calls coming in or the phone's going crazy, or, somebody needs help with this, or we need to do this. We need to call, back office about this, or it just seems like, okay, it's not a priority right now. We need to get through the fires right now. I feel like there's more fires than anything. It's like, okay, well, we don't know how to write this policy yet, so let's figure out how to do this. It's just, and I know that it's only been 5 months. I get that. I know I need to show myself some grace. All new agents need to show themselves some graces, but I think it's more hard for ex-team members. Like, we knew how to do it all. We did it all. So it's like, what's different now? So I think that's where it just I need to figure out how to just do a hard stop. Like, it's okay. We'll get back to the customer tomorrow. It's not an emergency.
Yep.
Let's do this.
Yeah. The difference is you went from being, from helping on the yacht to all of a sudden you're the owner of the yacht and probably the captain of the yacht, so you got lots of things going on to make sure you don't hit an iceberg and sink the damn yacht. So let's, no, that's good. So my question for you is from that 3 to 4 o'clock period, if you're going to be intentional with your time from 3 to 4 o'clock, what I would recommend is, and I guess more of a question is, how are you all holding each other accountable in the office currently? So if one of your team members has a time block, is anyone holding them accountable? If you have a time block, is your team holding you accountable?
No.
Okay.
I mean, good example, yesterday, we're on the all agent meeting with Weaver Sales yesterday, and I hear them coming in and trying to talk to me. I'm like, guys, I'm completely engaged with what I'm doing right now. It can wait 5 minutes. And I come out, I'm like, what's going on? Was it an emergency? Well, so-and-so called. I'm like, that's not an emergency.
Yep.
Hold on.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's reiterating the importance of time blocks and then holding each other accountable in the office. That's the first route I would go in this situation is, okay. Hey, when, what are your two team members, your office manager and your account manager? What are their names?
Macy is my office manager and Miranda is my account manager.
Okay. So for example, I would have a team meeting right after this call. I would say, hey, we have an idea. Macy, when do you want a time block? They're either 30-minute, and this is up to you, Christina. So 30-minute time block or 1 hour time block. So, hey, Macy, let's do a time block for you at this point in time during the day. And Miranda and myself, we're going to hold down the fort. Okay. And then Miranda, this is going to be your time block to where me and Macy hold down the fort. And then, hey guys, I'm also going to lead by example because I still like to meet with customers, still like to prospect. Here's going to be my 30-minute time block or 1 hour time block. And I need you all to hold down the fort. And what I mean by hold down the fort is, look, somebody calls in, take care of it or leave a message, or take a message and I'll call them back. But you have to prioritize what's important at the point in time. And not only are you going to prioritize time, you're going to teach your team the importance of prioritizing time and what's important, and then the importance of holding each other accountable.
Okay.
So
I like that.
So if you're busy during your time block, Macy and Miranda should be knocking on your door and be like, hey, you're supposed to be in the time block. Same thing. If Macy's supposed to be in her time block and she's not, you and Miranda need to be like, hey, we need the time block. This is important. Like, this is how we all are able to give back to the agency and make sure that we're doing what we can to feel productive during the day and help as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that. Because I'm probably guilty of it too. I probably go to Macy's my office manager. Hey, Macy, I need you to do this. Hey, so I'm taking her off task too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's one of those things, again, like we all know we need to be intentional. We all know we need to be disciplined. We all know, but when that claim calls in or that curveball, or we understand. And so it's learning how to great, we'll definitely get you taken care of, or hey, Christina will call you right back. She's in a meeting, she's in a life insurance appointment at the moment. And that's always, and so that's my other tip is, if people are calling in for you, Christina, it's always you should always be in an appointment. And you probably know this, but you're either in a life insurance appointment or an investment appointment, and whatever appointment you want to be in that you want to market, that's the consistent message that your team needs to be preaching.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely do that. They all know that.
Okay.
They filter all of my calls. She's in a life and appointment meeting. And then if it's like really emergency, they'll get them off the phone and be like, hey, I'd probably call them back in like 5 minutes.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we've talked about a lot. We've talked about management. We've talked about intentional time. And then the other thing, I would go back to performance from an office manager and your account manager is really, as you get into this, are they in the right roles? Like, are they more of that service type of role? Are they more of that sales type of personality? And as you grow, because you told me up front, like, hey, it's really like, I like these two and they fit the culture well. They're just not performing. And so as a young business owner, you're in a really tight spot because you don't have money to just be paying people to stay in your office. And so my real question for you is one, are they in the right, like, can you see them growing with the office in a role, but can you get them to perform the way you need them to perform now until you can afford to put them in the role and hire others to take over that sales role? And if the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, then you have to make a decision as far as, hey, I like them, but just because you like them doesn't mean that they're necessarily a great fit, because if they're not performing, they're not going to feel productive. If they're not feeling productive, they're going to get burnout, just like you will get burnout. And if they get burnout, then they're going to start looking for a new job and leave anyways. And so sometimes us as business owners form this relationship with individuals, and then all of a sudden, when we need to make that tough call, we don't, because we let personal feelings get in the way, when in all reality, that just leads down a worse road. Because really, if you are a true friend and true leader, you're not going to let them go down a road that they're not feeling productive on a day-to-day basis anyways.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's what I struggle with. Every business, whether you're agency owner or any type of business, we are in a season of really hard hiring. And, I'm located in Central California. So the caliber of applicants is just it's not great. So, that's been my biggest struggle, is finding somebody that fits my culture, finding somebody I can trust, finding somebody that's actually going to show up, and that has the drive and wants to work and wants to learn. So when I get one in that fits the culture, checks all of the boxes amazingly, but isn't performing, and actually paying them way higher than I ever anticipated, because I knew that they would be good, but after 90 days still isn't giving me numbers or potential, it's like, what do I do? You're stuck between a rock and a hard spot, because you're like, they're helping, they're doing some things right, but they're not paying for themselves at this point.
So, and in sales, it can be a little, so what, with your comp plan, and I know you're only 5 months in, so this is going to be maybe hard for you to gauge. What are you expecting? Are you expecting a 6-month return, a 1-year return, an 18-month return from an ROI standpoint on team members?
ROI, no, I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
I need to, but I'm very aware that the predicament I'm in right now, I'm an accountant. I can see it. That, she's getting $25 an hour because she has 6 years sales experience, but it was a different sales job. It was completely different. And I'm new to this and I didn't see that. And I'm almost 90 days in going, okay, this is completely different than what she did before. Okay. So, she's dropping down to the thought was, hire hourly till she could build her funnel, drop down as she builds her funnel, but the funnel's not being built because she's not hitting her matrix. And we've had lots of hearts to hearts. And I said, if I don't see her 90 days is coming up, I said, if I don't see these matrix being hit daily, we're going to have the hard conversation, because you're not going to make the type of commission to elevate your life that you want anyways. Mm-hmm. You're just not. And that's okay. We can still be friends. And if this doesn't work, there's no hard feelings. But I want you to be happy too. It's not just about me, but as a business owner, I can't continue to pay you this hourly and you're not putting anything on the board.
Yep. You're not people's pension plans. Like they gotta come and perform. But I know it's really hard right now, like you said, because of the great resignation and what we're going through trust me, like we run into the same thing with our businesses. And so
all the boxes, checks all of the boxes. And so I'm constantly every night going, what am I doing wrong? What can I do differently? What is not clicking? And I put it back on myself as the coach going, okay. And that's where we've had, do you want me to sit with you every day for 5 days straight? Like what? No, that's just going to make me. And it's like, okay, well, help me help you.
So I think my question.
So as a new business owner, it's like, where do you go at that point?
Yep, absolutely. And so I think my question is going to be for you is, so if you've done everything you can and you feel like you have from a leadership standpoint, and I feel just in listening and hearing is that the activity is not being done. And so I would go back to that question I asked you earlier. Is it, and I love the fact that you've got the +1 approach. I love that. And I think that's an amazing approach for current customers, making sure they're taken care of and also making sure the agency's doing their due diligence. But really think about and have a conversation with your office. So if we had no customers, if we had no call-ins, if we had no one to pivot to, how would you all make a living? What would need to be done? Like how many cold calls a day? Do we need to get out and market businesses? Do we need to try to develop centers of influences? What does that look like? And I would start incorporating some of that into the day-to-day and the week-to-week interaction.
Okay.
And accountability. Because if you were a new market scratch agent right now, what would your new business prospecting look like? And that is the one thing I would challenge anyone listening to this. I don't care if you're 5 months into the business, 18 months into the business, 5 years into the business. If you're not happy with where your production currently is, what does your new prospecting look like? How are you attracting people to you?
Absolutely. And I think, I just had an aha moment with you. What we were talking about earlier in this call just circled right back to, that's the problem, is the intentional time and why she's not hitting those matrices. And that's the frustration and lies of the performance. Wow. It just literally it just made this whole circle, this bright, beautiful picture. And then you throw in the prospecting new business and making it back to the intentional time, Mr. Weaver. Always.
we getting buzzed on the buzz today. I'm glad that this has been helpful. So now here's the magical part though. Here we go, Christina. So boom, we know time blocks. We know there needs to be new business prospecting. So from a leader standpoint, you hold her accountable to this over the next 30 days. And if nothing changes, that's when you know you have a problem. Like if the funnel doesn't start getting built, the production isn't there, that's when you're like, okay, maybe this isn't a good fit.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Love it. Wow. Such a good coaching call.
Was this helpful?
It really was. And I think you just get so stuck in the day to day and you're like, what am I doing wrong? And you're trying to do all these different avenues. And until you really talk about it from A to Z, you can't see the whole picture. You have bits and pieces and you're like, I'm doing this, I'm moving this piece, I'm doing this. And you're like, okay, what is the common problem? Common problem is time blocking, being intentional with our time. That is it feeds everything. It's like it's the brain and it's feeding the rest of our body, and we're not operating the brain properly to feed everything else.
I love this. And see, the why I love this is because you already knew the answers. Like, it's not like I was feeding you the answers. Like, I just asked questions. You said the answers. Like, you got the answers. You just had to have a conversation. And so that's, exactly. I love that. So, whoo, man, if you all listening to this, if you guys got a lot out of this today, make sure you give the Insurance Buzz a 5-star review. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate with Christina. So when this comes out, if this relates to you at all, make sure you let Christina know how helpful this was. This would mean a lot to her. Christina, if somebody did want to reach out, get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that? Is it social media? Is it your website? What does that look like?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me, social media covered by Christina on Instagram, Christina Rotondo, State Farm Agent on Facebook. And if you're a fellow State Farm agent, you know, my alias is VACYB7. I love to chat with new agents, kind of, you know, pinpoint stuff off of each other, bounce back and forth, and just get that support, you know. Vegas is coming up. Hopefully we can all get together and have a celebratory drink. we've got through some of it. But really, that's the best part about agency is the community and the people we get to meet, and that we're all here to support each other, and we're all going through it. It may look different, but at the end of the day, it's like the brain. It's the same piece. So yeah, thank you so much, Michael. Weaver Sales Academy and your podcast, I have a commute 45 minutes every day, and it really jumpstarts my day. So I really appreciate the work you and your wife, Courtney, have done. It's really helping new agents like myself out, and I'm very, very appreciative.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you and your support and your business. Like I said up front, it's been, I still remember that call we had a few months ago, right before you got started, but it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate your time today. So, and with all of you listening, you all know that time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. And I appreciate you all spending a few minutes with Christina and I today. Christina, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Michael. Have a great day.
All right, you too.